Welcome to the Filthy Few podcast. Our special guest today is the wonderful Vercetti. He is a criminal forensic psychologist, and we are going to be speaking with him today about various things. And I think it's going to be an exciting podcast. So thanks for joining us today. Hello, my good sir. How are you doing today?
I'm great.
Thanks for
How are you?
I'm well, dude. Thank you for joining us today. I've been really excited about this. Um, it's been a while since I've done one of these, so I'm really happy to be getting a guest of your caliber professionally. And let's just start it out with what exactly do you do?
Okay, so I'm basically a doctor. So my title is actually underneath doctor, but I
Woohoo,
specialize in mental health.
girl!
But yeah, I specialize in mental health and where it intersects with the law. So I assess individuals to determine mental state during crimes. I evaluate competency to stand trial, and I provide expert testimony in court of law.
That is an interesting professional position, and we're definitely going to get into more of those aspects. So, what would be just a typical day for you? Pretty much
Um,
professionally, or whatever else you want to
well, when
throw in
I
there.
when I get to work, um, if I've not got a case already, I would go see my boss and get handed a case, and then my day would literally consist of staring through reports, talking to people, uh, watching footage is a part of it as well. So basically, what we do is we watch and analyze interrogation footage, and we watch for physical cues and stuff like that. So we spend a lot of time watching footage. Um, so it's a very long, boring day sometimes, but
Yeah.
then you have days that are very very active as well and on your feet.
So when you're watching this footage, are there time like is it? I mean, I'm sure predominantly it's going to be boring, but you're also watching for things that pique your interest as well. I mean, like not
Yeah.
for that purpose, but like when these things happen, you're like, oh, cool. So like what kind of thing will happen in that regard to perk your interest when you're watching a testimony or something like this?
Okay. So it can be multiple things. Um, really in an interrogation setting, really the things I'm looking for. So it can literally be anything as well. Um, like we combine multiple things as far as how hand gestures are used to how someone stutters in their tone of voice when they say certain things and how they repeat things in different ways multiple times. That's why police officers and detectives will say the same question but like kind of word it differently
Mm-hmm.
because you'll notice a lot um, hand gestures when criminals answer questions like that. They change their hand gestures, but they answer the exact same.
Okay.
And
Which
yeah, so
I mean, it that alludes to inconsistency, but like for
yeah,
what you're saying is like that is a good indicator of a lie.
yeah. So that's a very good indicator of a lie because what I look for, like, so say if I was watching you, right, and your stream for me right
You
now
are
would
watching me. You're always
is
watching me. You're always in my house.
so say if your stream right now is an interrogation for me, I'd be watching how your hands are moving while you talk, how you are with your chat, right? And I would get a kind of basic understanding of how you are as a person and how you react to certain things. And then I'd kind of break down as someone asked you questions, how that changes. And that's why at the start of any interrogation, they have builder questions. So they get a kind of tone of voice for you. They get a baseline of how you sit, how you kind of slouch on the desk when they're not there, what you ask for. So if you go into an interrogation and say, "Can I have some water?" You know that to them says, "Oh, okay." they're being cooperative with us, and they're talking to us. If you walk into an interrogation and you kind of shut yourself off, or you keep your hands close to you, you don't offer them out to anybody, you don't take anything from anyone, that shows that you're hiding something.
I can see this, but it just, in my mind, it would seem like there was just such a multitude of emotions and things going through someone's mind while they're in such a highly stressful situation. But what was interesting to me, what you just said, is basically you're comparing it to their baseline that you've already witnessed.
Yes. So basically what we do is we do a lot of things through the process to gain a baseline before we analyze anything. Say before you even get into an interrogation room, you're gonna have to get out of a police car. If you're taken there in a police car, you're gonna have to walk through the police station. You're gonna have to, take all your belongings out of your pockets, hand them over, put your fingerprints. So we already have CCTV footage of you.
I think the majority of my chat understands that. Proceed.
Yeah. So we already have the footage of you acting how you would act, and we can see how your demeanor is. And you'd be surprised a lot of the times how it instantly changes as soon as they step into a room. And any type of baseline is taken from anything we can gather on the way in and anything we can gather from the on scene of the actual crime itself. Now, if you're on CCTV footage on the crime itself, we'll look at that before we even talk to you in an interrogation room.
Mm-hmm.
So it is interesting because, how I think of that and how you think of that is two very different things, right? You would think of that as, I don't really know the person. I don't know how they are, how they act, right?
Yes.
And yeah, you're right. You're right. I don't know the person. That's also why we would take notes from that interrogation, and then we'd move on from that. We would do a sit down with just me and that person, and we would do a full evaluation of their mental and how they're actually feeling personally about everything. But we would ask them questions, as in, like, we would prod at the actual crime that we want to know about itself. We wouldn't venture away from it because we want to keep focus. If we talk about something that comforts them, then their demeanor changes to a more relaxed, oh, this is okay. But when I talk to somebody compared to a detective, I want to see the change. The detective wants to see trust and kind of build a false hope for the person, right? Mm-hmm. So it's very, very different to what you'd see. Even on the YouTube videos that you can get for interrogations, it's very different to what you see there. Because on one side of it, the detectives are trying to get trust. And I'm trying to get a baseline of your kind of worry side. So I'm prodding at the things that are going to make you worry. They're prodding at the things that are going to make you tell them things.
It's that's very interesting. It seems almost anti-instinctual.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
So my question is, like, when there's so much information out there about keep your fucking mouth shut, wait for a lawyer, why, in your professional opinion, do these people choose to try and fucking dig themselves out of it right away, you know what I mean, and end up incriminating themselves by talking to these people without a lawyer? Why does this? Why do I see this happening over and over? Now I have an idea, which might lead us to another tract of discussion. I mean, like why do you think that happens?
One big
Am I
part of
correct
it,
though?
you're very correct. Yeah.
Okay.
One big part of that is mainstream media, and that's, like, I'm saying that as a very widespread thing, but mainstream media kind of promotes this, journalism against the law. They don't know what they're doing. They're not doing it properly. I'm an auditor. I'm this. I'm that. I know the
Oh
law.
yeah,
I know the law.
yeah.
And then as soon as somebody online sees that, and if they get into any type of trouble, they just think, "Oh, I know the law," or "I've been through this before.
Okay,
I
so
know the
they're
law."
dumb.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so this was and I didn't, I was thinking about pulling punches here, but it's like one thing that I've witnessed, which blows my mind, is just the amount of criminals that get caught doing stupid shit. So I'm just thinking that their brains can't process past that. So my question to you, and I do want to discuss like intelligent criminals that you've dealt with, like that really fascinates me. But that being said, would you say most of these people getting caught are dumb? And you don't have to answer that. Because it kind of blows me away. It's like, what, dude, you just killed your wife and now you're talking to the police about it. Like, I'm glad to take you off the fucking street. But if it was me, I would just be dead fucking quiet until I got a fucking lawyer.
Okay, so it's actually really funny you said that, because I've actually worked on a case like that. And it's very interesting how people think. And people like that, they often, obviously they've got something wrong with them, right? Obviously, a lot of the time, these people, they think they're smarter than the law.
Right, that's what fucking dumb people do, right? Like,
Yeah,
they automatically
they
assume that they're smarter than people, right?
Yeah, 100%. They basically just think they're smarter, and they think that by talking to the police, they're no longer a suspect.
How did...
And
wait, back up.
yeah,
You can be dumb as a dope and still... Wait, okay, so you're saying that they think they're so smart they're getting themselves out of trouble, but we know as observers that they need it. They're just shoveling it.
Yeah, no, 100%. So people in that mindset, say I killed Lucy, right?
God,
And
you fucking bring the name and everything into it. Jesus Christ, you will not touch her.
You all know her.
Yeah.
So, say I killed Lucy, right?
Oh God.
It would be my last instinct to talk to the police.
Sure.
But if I had to talk to the police, that's kind of the point where I would say, I'm caught.
Right.
Like there'd be no point in playing that off, because the amount of things that are in place, like as soon as I talk to the police, they have my fingerprints, they have my DNA.
Right.
So there's no point in me trying to hide that. Like, of course I can say, oh, she's my wife. My DNA's on her because she's my wife. We touch each other every day. No, that's not the point. There's ways that we can ID how old things are, and the people don't understand that there's ways in science to figure out how long it's been since something has been fucked around with.
And these ways are being innovated consistently, correct? Like the
100%.
public. Yeah, the public can't be on top of like the newest shit, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
In
100%.
fact, I'd assume that we're years behind. I'd assume.
Probably.
So,
I mean, saying what I see from an internal perspective, I would say from public to government, the things the government has access to it's a vast amount more in terms of what we can identify, in terms compared to what a civilian could hide, we'll
Right.
say, right?
Yeah. That makes sense. That makes
Like
sense.
there's people. There was a case in America that I'm allowed to talk about because it's public, but a guy had killed two people and he'd buried them, and 15 years later, these people got found, and they got found because the place got turned into a building site and the soil got tested. And basically, their DNA had just stayed in the soil.
It's crazy.
And scientists that tested the soil, they were testing it for signs of like land decay and stuff like that to see if it was good enough to build
Yeah,
on. But
like how
instead,
did
they
does
found
DNA just appear? Like they're like, oh, there's DNA. I would assume that like that's not the case. How did they find that shit?
no. So soil actually keeps DNA. So if you grabbed a handful of soil, right, and you put it
Okay,
into
this is good to
a
know
glass
for when I
jar.
make my first kill.
Yeah, so if you grabbed a handful of soil and put it in a glass jar, you could test it 50 years later and they could still be DNA on it.
From your hand?
Yes.
Oh wow.
From like anything. It could be sweat, it could be hair, it could if it was a bone fragment that had gone into the soil, that bone
Interesting.
then crushes itself up into bone meal, which kind of reacts with the soil and helps things grow. And that then keeps the DNA in it. And the DNA kind of just stays there. It's kind of like a
So I mean, just to backtrack on these specific tests, when they're looking something for something to like kind of renovate the land and so on and so forth, like how did they detect that DNA was there? Is it just like, oh, there's this thing here and that can only be a DNA kind of thing? Like I'm just
well, they
curious. Do you
they
know?
basically they they broke down every compound in the soil because they wanted to identify what was on that land and what they
Okay,
were
that
building
makes
on.
sense. Okay,
And then
okay.
they found DNA
So
compound,
yeah, that's crazy.
which then they
Wow.
traced back to a person that had been missing.
Yeah. So right away they're calling the police. The police
Yeah.
sends some sort of forensic team out there to get a sample. Um,
Yeah.
they get the DNA. Do they then like process missing persons? Do they have an age, kind of a general age of the DNA, like you
So,
alluded to?
yeah. So basically, from that, the age is determined by how far the DNA has spread apart.
Wow.
Yeah.
So,
It's
oh
very
wow. Okay,
interesting.
wait. So is this contingent upon the Earth, or is it contingent upon the DNA? How it spreads out? Like, because the Earth is
The
constantly
Earth.
moving, right? Right. Yeah, it's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
This is great. Okay, good.
Yeah,
Wow.
so that was a really interesting case, but it just shows how more forward the government is in regards to finding things, right? And
What do you?
it's
Could you
really, really
elaborate on
hard.
that statement in regard? What do you mean? How forward the government is in regard to that? Like just how
So,
much they're willing to do, kind of thing.
well, not only that, but how advanced they are technologically
I
now.
got you. Okay.
Like
Yeah.
compared to what you can get your hands on, compared to what probably I can get my hands on, right?
Could
I
you
like
could you get away with it if you did it?
me.
Yeah.
Phew, no,
Really?
no. As
Really?
as much as I have put time into learning these things, no.
Yet still people do get away.
They do, yeah. They do. They
Why?
definitely do.
Why? Because we've got a
If I'm being
forensic
honest with you,
psychologist who fucking studies this shit saying he couldn't get away with it, you know?
if I'm being completely honest, there are just some people that are fucking smart.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Okay. So this is actually a good segue. This is a good segue here. I want to know, obviously, within your realms of comfort, and whatever you're willing to talk
yeah.
about, but I would like to know if you've encountered like criminal masterminds or like, just your particularly extremely smart criminal. Tell me a little bit about those things.
I think that one of the smartest criminals I've ever dealt with. Ooh, ooh. Nah, it's a choice between two though. Okay. So okay, so so those are. I'm trying to figure out how to explain this without
No
saying too
worries.
much.
You take your time because you're also, you need to protect yourself. I
Yeah,
understand it.
yeah.
So just take your time with that.
Because I know what I can release about this case, but I know what I can't release about this case. um.
And we don't even have to talk about that one in particular if you're like iffy about it, you know?
Oh no, we can. Don't worry.
Okay.
It was basically so this person had like the way this person kind of portrayed themselves. It was scary. Like genuinely, it was scary. Like if you imagine being in the room with someone, right, and you know when they just have that look, and you're like that person could fuck somebody up. Like
Yeah.
this person had the look and more. And this
Like
person was so
1,000 yard
smart.
stare type of thing, or just like you get like a creepy feeling kind of, because I've had a multitude of experiences.
Like
Sometimes I get actual
10,000 yards
feelings from
stare.
people. What?
Like this was like a 10,000 yard stare.
Okay, so it was the, okay, I got you.
Like, and it was like during all the sessions that I had with them, it was like
Was it like the
just how
stare
calm
of an
they were.
alcoholic when they're in a fit? That glassy eyed, fucking
Not
distant.
even, not
Okay.
even. Like, could you imagine somebody that just doesn't feel emotion?
It's so fucking hard for me to like empathize with that. Because
Yeah.
like
So
all I do
this
is get hit
person,
with empathetic fucking craziness all the time.
right? So I'm a very very like hyper, happy, upbeat person, right?
Mm-hmm.
Every time I had a session with this person, it was just like the room was silent. Like I could actually hear a pin drop on a carpet. And this person just sat there and like they could honestly admit murder to me and I'd believe that they were innocent.
Well, like
Not
cognitive,
literally, but
like cognitive dissonance, or like I elaborate on that a
so
little bit. Like you
everything
mean
that
you mean
it's like
in the justification? Is
not
that what you
even, not
mean?
even. So the way they spoke about things, it was like the way they spoke about things, it was just they spoke about things in an eerily rational and calculated way to where they told you what you needed to know, but they kept every little detail locked away without even showing that they were hiding anything. And they would just look at you with a straight face, no smile, no frown, no tear behind the eye, no like twitch of the eyebrow, no twitch of the ear, nothing. They'd just look at you dead in the eyes, like you were staring between the nose.
Just analyzing, probably.
Literally.
Yeah. So okay. I mean, like, was this person? This person was chilling, but was this person, you think, like above average intellect?
Yes, yeah. So
Okay, so how, like,
background wise, this
yeah,
person was very smart. You could you could ask this person anything and they would be able to tell you. Click of a finger, they know it, right? And they have so many skills that are so useful and like I'm talking life skills and more. Like they could do anything like if they wanted to. But this person was just so smart. Like they knew things that just nobody would know. And so they had a photographic memory, and it was like to a point where this person could just sit in front of you and you could just ask them something, and it was like quick fire. It's asking a calculator a math question
Mhm.
about anything. And this, like, the way they actually just gave you information and the way they portrayed things to you, it was like they just read it in a book 10 minutes ago.
Interesting. So, was this a crime of passion? Was it calculated? Because, I think about that, and even if it's like, a very like intelligent, person, whatever, they wanted their bloodthirst or whatever, like the rest of their life is gone. You know what I mean? Where
Yeah.
they could have still made sociopathic, calculated decisions, and you know what I mean? Like, been happy within that psychotic realm.
Yeah, 100%. So the it felt like they just didn't care, and that whichever direction their life went, they were happy. Like
Actually
if they
happy.
got up, yeah, like if they got off with it, they were truly happy about it. If they got locked away, they were truly happy about it. Like this
What the
person
fuck?
was, their brain was so dialed into what they had done, they didn't care about anything else around it.
I see. Okay, so that was the most to commit that crime was the most important thing to them.
Yeah, and the fact
So
they had
why
done
is
it,
that
that's
why is that
all.
worth giving your life away? I mean, like, I understand the person's extremely sick, but like someone who's so calculating and analytical in their thinking, it feels like they kind of delved into their primordial instincts instead of fucking,
Yeah. So
and
a, a
that
very
is more worth it to them.
yeah,
to
a very
get to
good way
get to
to
that
kind of
level, to throw the rest of your life away, but getting to that level is that important to them.
yeah, like a very good way to explain it, right? So someone with OCD, as you know, obsessive compulsive disorder.
Sold to the man in the fucking jester hair.
But yeah, like somebody that is obsessively compulsive about one thing, they feel like they have to do it, right?
Sure.
And
Yes. Yes.
this person
I'll be
in their
right back. I'm
brain.
kidding. Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead. This person in their brain.
So yeah, this person in their brain just it's like their brain was just telling them, like it was like they had obsessive compulsive to kill somebody. And as soon as that was
So
done,
is that
they didn't
feeling
have anything else to obsess over.
right? But I would imagine that feeling is extremely uncomfortable, and that's why they feel they need to complete that compulsion because they're in a
Yeah.
sense of discomfort when they're not doing it. So that compulsion again needs to overwhelm every other rational aspect that they could be thinking.
Yeah, see
Why does that
I'm
happen?
going to play devil's advocate here. Yes and
Uh huh.
no.
Okay.
So yes, what you said is completely correct. If somebody just has the desire to kill, yes, they would start to kind of freak out like I'm not killing, right? But if it was caused by trauma and
Their
they
condition.
were they were traumatized young, and then they looked at this person that traumatized them as I need to kill you, and it was targeted, right? Then as soon as that is done, they feel better. They feel like you traumatized me, you can't do it again, type of thing, right? So to them it's like, wow, a weight's lifted off my shoulders. I don't have to deal with that anymore.
Would you say that's like a similar type of thing with someone like Ted Bundy's psychological
Yeah.
disposition? Okay, so these psychotic fucking sickos are trying to relieve themselves.
Yeah. In a way, they think that because they suffered, someone else has to suffer.
Now, aren't all of these people victim of emotion of environmental trauma?
By all, who do you mean?
Every
Like any?
person you've ever dealt with in this regard?
No,
No. So
no.
because
Some
because
people
what
are
I'm
just crazy.
right. So what I'm alluding to is like, and ultimately it's the discussion of like, is there true evil and stuff like this? Like, this is what I personally believe is that someone can have these sociopathic or psychotic tendencies, but when the trauma is induced to them, it gets that much more. Whereas you can have
Yeah,
someone with sociopathic or psychopathic tendencies be reformed by like a good family or something like that. I'm not saying always, okay, but that's personally what I believe, and I believe the sociopaths, like that one mob hitman, the Iceman. If you've ever seen that interview on HBO from years ago, that's very chilling. and
yeah,
and and other murders and stuff, I believe, yes, they had those things, but also they were traumatized to that point by family or whatever. And you're saying there is a cut of people that will come out of the womb and just basically be pure evil,
yeah. And
no
it's
matter no
actually
matter and they can't be rehabilitated.
correct. And it's actually there is a debate in forensic psychiatry. It's a very big one. We call it nature versus nature.
Nature versus nurture.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm reading my notes and my dyslexic brain is kicking in.
No, it's all good,
I usually
dude.
I usually use the screen reader for this. But no, nature versus nurture. It's while trauma and early life contribute to your development of psychopathic tendencies, they're not the only factors, and some people are just born exhibiting those traits without any history of trauma and without any history of biological and genetic influences either. And the genetic factors of that, it's like, so there's studies that show antisocial behavior has a heritable component.
Right.
If a close relative has sociopathic tendencies, a person can inherit traits like impulsivity, lack of empathy, aggression, and they can start to act out a lot. And certain gene variants have been linked to aggression and poor impulse controls.
Hmm.
And so it really pulls towards not to what they have gone through, but to what they and their family, like their father, their mother, have gone through as well. Um, and so the second part of that, it's their brain structure
I
and
was about to
function
say,
and
yeah.
neurological developments. So their neuroimaging the neuroimaging studies that suggest sociopathy is linked to differences in the prefrontal cortex, um, you know, and the what's the word for it? The amygdala, and so it's basically so the prefrontal cortex. It's responsible for your impulse controls and all
Mm-hmm.
your decision making, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your amygdala, it's what possesses your emotions and fear and empathy, and they link sociopathy to that, and if any of it's damaged and stuff like that. And they say some people can have naturally lower responses to emotional stimuli, meaning they don't actually experience guilt or fear, and that can really really affect someone's um you know in a way it can just affect how they actually take things and actually how they
Yeah, I mean,
feel for people and their actions.
yeah, if you have no sense of guilt, I mean, I would imagine that you feel so outside of it because it's like, well, why do they?
Yeah.
But like, how would you not like if you were really smart? Couldn't you like kind of put that together and be like, well, like, you know what I mean? Like, couldn't you figure it out? I know there's actually there are actually people with antisocial personality, and they even come up on the internet and stuff like that, and they're like, I want to do better. You know what I mean? I
Yeah,
just
there
need
is.
yeah, yeah,
It's just so part of that is how. So obviously, some people are born with it, but then it also shows on how they grow and how that then develops. Because they can be born with less emotional stimuli, right?
yeah.
But as they grow up, their brain can, kind of kick itself into gear and say, "Look, you're lacking this. Start kicking yourself into gear and get more." And it starts to make more over time. And as you get more, you kind of start responding to stuff.
It's
And
interesting.
a kid can grow up and see so many horrible things, and it just tanks their emotional stimuli to a point where they're older,
You're saying
they don't
they've been
cry, they don't.
desensitized?
Yeah, it just completely desensitizes them because they just don't know what it is anymore.
Right,
Like they
right.
see that as normal
You've built
because they
up
were exposed to it for so long.
you've built up such a callus in dealing with like violence or like, you know, domestic abuse,
Yeah,
stuff
and
like that, that after a while it's just
100%.
like, yeah, I get it. I get it.
And some children they show some children show callous unemotional traits as well. Like lack of guilt, low empathy, and very early on in even in very stable environments, and
Right.
poor
So this
emotional
is
processing.
that's the trip. Yeah, that's a trip.
Yeah, and any like poor emotional processing or reduced autonomic nervous system responses, they lead to lack of fear and remorse. And any time that someone's brain kind of just says just do it because they don't feel scared, then it makes them it makes it easier for them to manipulate others into doing things.
How often does lack of fear go with lack of guilt in an individual?
Oh, oh. If they have both, 9 times out of 10 you can link both of them together. 9 times out of 10.
What
Because
I'm
if
asking
someone's
is
not scared of something,
how often that happens. Because I know, look, there's a lot of adrenaline junkies out there who wouldn't even fucking
yeah,
think of hurting another person, and they love
yeah,
animals and all that.
it's
You know what I'm saying? But they don't have fucking fear.
yeah, it's something that it happens. I'd say it happens just about the same as a street fight on a late night, right?
Well, it depends where you
Like,
live, right? I can go
well,
outside
yeah,
right
yeah.
now.
So, a couple times a month, we'll say. You know, so in a year of 12 months, it can happen a couple times a month. So what,
Sure.
3 times a month, we'll say.
Yeah.
So in a full 12-month period, that's I'm not good at math. I'll let you do it.
What
But
was it?
so
In
say
in
three
a
times a
how?
month
Uh
for
huh.
1 year.
It's 36.
That Okay, so that's 36 times in a 12-month period. That's not a lot.
No.
That's really compared to some crimes. That's
Okay.
really not a lot.
Okay. But when
And
you do have that combination, it's like, oh Jesus.
yeah, when you have the combination, you know you've got the combination.
Now again, with this combination, these murderers and criminals are going to be in a sense of discomfort and have to commit the crime, correct?
Yes.
Okay. It's very interesting. It's very
Yeah.
interesting.
And more often than not, these people that have both will straight up just tell you, I've done it or I did it. And they'll tell you exactly how they did it because they don't care. They don't fear for what's going to happen to them next, and they have no guilt of what's just happened.
Ah.
So they'll just tell you exactly what happened, every detail, exactly how they did it, how they planned it. They don't care. They'll do it.
Do you think a bit of it is also to titillate themselves in the situation?
Yeah. Like a lot of it is to make themselves feel better about what they've
Right.
just done. And like,
Right.
I did it. I'm proud of myself.
Man,
And again, that's
we are
because they don't
just
fear.
interesting fucking animals, are we not?
We
Jesus
really are.
Christ. Yeah. I mean, like as I've said before, like we're consistently fascinated with ourselves, which is fascinating alone. How we are so fascinated by ourselves. You know what I mean? It's literally the universe being fascinated by itself. That's interesting enough to me. But we're fucking fascinating. You know, in fact,
Yeah.
I'm kind of glad. So so many things fascinate us on this planet, but we are
Yeah.
narcissists. We are definitely in love with ourselves.
100%. And I think that as well, the main takeaway from that, as far as the neurological functions, and while trauma is definitely a factor in that, and how it affects them from birth, some people are just wired differently, if you will, and that can be genetics, brain structure, or neurological functions. And psychopathic traits come so much easier to those people that they can emerge even in a stable, loving environment. And that's simply just because of biological predisposition.
So obviously, there's a ton of people, wearing masks out there.
Yeah.
To this capacity, there's also a bunch of people who are just they in fact can hide it their whole lives, right? Though, would you say
Yeah.
those are the ones who are tempted less than the others to commit the crime, to relieve that angst? Would you
I
say that
would
it's sh-
say yes.
yeah, I mean it's definitely like it's different levels, but you've also got to think like, yeah, there's going to be people out there that just never do it because they know they're going to get caught.
Yeah.
So they live in this like tortured existence their whole lives because they can't kill people.
Yeah, 100%.
That's fucking crazy. And it makes me think, which leads us to my next question for you, but it just is something that really, really fascinates me is like, if all this was to go to shit and Armageddon was to happen, which of the people that I know, if they can actually like quote unquote comfortably choose a side, like, I'm going to be this or I'm going to be this, like which people that I've encountered or know are actually evil. And actually
Well,
let me ask you in your experience before I bring up the next question. First of all, do you believe in true evil? And next, have you encountered it if you do?
I definitely do believe in it.
And what would you first of all, what would you define as evil in your opinion from a human?
Ooh. It's
I think it's someone.
so I'll start with do I believe in true evil? Yes, I
Yeah.
definitely do.
Okay.
And from a psychiatric perspective, I don't necessarily believe in evil as being a supernatural force. Instead, I'd see it as actions, behaviors that are destructive and cruel and that devoid empathy, often driven by psychological or neurological social factors. And that being said, there's some individuals commit acts that are so heinous that they appear to embody, what you call evil. And whether a serial killer with no remorse or a person who inflicts suffering purely for personal gratification, and their actions still cross into what you would define as evil, right? And that's how I feel about true evil. That there is true evil, but evil is a very light term because everyone's definition of it is different. And I would define evil as you know the intentional and repeated infliction of harm on others with no remorse,
That's
and
interesting.
especially when someone takes pleasure in it, and intentionally being cruel to somebody, and that's not just impulsive violence, but like calculated harm. or lack of empathy, remorse. You know,
Because
maybe
it makes them
like the
feel
people
good.
that, yeah, the people that really understand suffering but enjoy it, and like the have a pattern of harming others without any sense of moral restraint. That's what I would define as evil.
Yeah, and I can see because, like, dude, I have a sadistic streak. Obviously, we all do, whether we admit it or not. Um, but yeah, I think that's just just I think what you said right there is so fucking profound. Completely understanding suffering and choosing to inflict that on someone or something else for your own joy. That's fucking
Yeah.
crazy. That's absolutely fucking crazy. So let me ask you how these cases affect you and how you deal with the stress.
Okay, so obviously I have my own psychologist as well.
Thank goodness.
And it's important for me as a forensic psychologist that deals with all these things to just have that time to relax as well. I
That's
take a lot
good.
of time off of work between cases, and we get given a lot of time as well between. So my job role is, so I'm a district manager for high court cases. So that's cases that have higher times and higher kind of um, penalties, right? So
Okay.
I deal with the big things
Okay.
now. And between my cases, so my cases can take up to 2 to 3, 4 months sometimes. And that's just the beginning stages, just the diagnosing stages. And between cases, I get 2 weeks where I only deal with small, open, shut, analyze that, analyze this type of jobs. And I don't stress myself with too much. And then if my boss came into my office while I was working just to talk to me and they say, "Oh, you seem stressed," they're gonna send me home. And I'm not coming back for a week, 2 weeks until my therapist says you're good.
So what just to get back to what you just said, why do they end up calling you? Like what at what point does it have to reach in the case where they call up someone of your credentials? Why does that happen?
It's mainly when somebody just doesn't know, or they're stuck between two things, like a rock and a hard place, and they don't know what to pinpoint. Or it's a high court case where someone's been arrested for a really high crime that is, you know, they need somebody that's experienced, knows what they're doing, and knows a lot of different types of mental illnesses in and out, and can just say, yes, 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 I'll do it, and spend a lot of time being in depth.
Interesting. And then back to my other question: do you find that your stress does eventually like get relieved, or you know what I'm saying? Like, are you doing enough to
It
take
definitely
care of
gets
yourself?
relieved.
Good,
It
good.
definitely does get relieved. So I spend a lot of time, like, as you know, I just got back from having some time off of work. But I spend a lot of time just, when I get home from work, I don't sit and do more work. I sit, I play Call of Duty with Lucy. I play with my friends online. I play with you in the Rocket League lobbies whenever my internet doesn't shit itself. I do these things that calm my brain and give me something else to focus on. And another really big thing, a lot of people can probably relate to this as well, is music. Music is such an amazing tool, and it gives you
Music
something to
therapy,
relate
baby.
to. It gives you something to relate to, and it gives you um, an outlet without being loud about what's going on, you know? I don't know if that makes sense or not.
I mean, yeah, it's it is intrinsically connected to our human evolution. You
Yeah,
know, it's
I think it's important because
it's something that gives us comfort,
it's
and
how
it
we express ourselves as well.
and I think it also adds to obviously our experience of consciousness in a huge way.
Yeah.
Right? You know, I met, just as a little segue, I met someone one time that said, I just don't care for music. And I stopped and I was like, you mean you don't care for certain types of music? He's like, nah, just like music. I don't really care for it. I'm like, and I'm still asking, I'm like, have you listened to a lot of kinds of different music? Because, you know,
Yeah.
if they just forced country on you for fucking your first 8 years, I don't blame you. But I could not fathom that. It's something that's so intrinsically like cued into our evolution and everything. It just blows me away. But hey, man, people are fucking
Yeah.
different, aren't they? But
Yeah,
that's weird.
100%.
That's fucking weird, though.
But yeah, yeah, music is definitely one of the biggest things for me.
Are you
My
making it?
Spotify is playing. No, I
You
don't make music, but
you should
my
start.
my s-
Why don't you
I should.
start? Yeah,
I really should.
yeah,
But yeah,
bro.
my Spotify plays 24/7.
Start making
Um,
fucking music, dude. I
at
think it's gonna
work, at
make you
home,
happy.
and you know, but I wouldn't even say it's my biggest outlet, but it's one of my biggest. My biggest would be, like physical activities.
What do you
I'm a
do in that regard?
very physical person. So
That's
I play
good.
rugby
Oh
and
yeah.
I do sprinting as well, like
Wow.
so short distance, high speed sprinting, um, and
That
I
does
spend a
wonders for the
lot of
mental health as
time.
well, obviously.
It really does, yes. I
Yeah.
spend a lot of time running track. I spend a lot of time on hurdles. I spend a lot of time playing rugby.
Oh man,
Rugby is
this is great
amazing
stuff.
because
Yeah.
I get to take all my stress and run into people as fast as I can and as
Hell
hard as
yeah,
I
bro.
can.
Hell
you
yeah.
know,
That's one of those sports, man. I fucking respect it. You know, I did MMA, not
yeah, like
professionally, but it's like I like that fucking contact and strategy shit, bro. Like I think it's one of the purest things you can do in this life is fucking like play a sport like that. Or like, you know what I mean? Like for me personally,
yeah,
fight another man. I
100%.
don't think I want to do that
And
anymore. I'm just saying, like, what's more raw and primal and universe than that?
yeah, yeah, you're really not wrong, and it's a really, really good
That's the
thing.
way I feel, dude.
And it is really important, and it's one of those things. It really helps you kind of just stay grounded with yourself as well. And
Absolutely.
you know, as much as I've been injured playing rugby, and it was bad. I didn't play rugby for 6.5 months after it,
Yeah.
because I had surgery. But
Tendon.
no, oh, this is going to be a good one for the podcast. Um, so I got tackled and it was too high, and it was somebody that really didn't know what they was doing,
Oh god.
and they had actually popped my left testicle.
Oh fuck you! God damn it!
Yeah, yeah. So they had popped my left testicle, and I had to have it surgically taken out with 22 stitches across my stomach.
Do you have it like on the
And
mantle or something?
no,
Will you send it to me so I can suck it?
I'll send it to you so you can sell it on stream, auction it.
You'd have to take the majority of the cut for that. Intended pun. Intended pun. Bro, I'm
No,
so
no,
sorry that happened also.
sell it and fund the stream.
When you're having sex with Lucy, you should call it the Unabomber. I can't, I'm sorry. Wait, hold on.
No, this
Hold
is
on. Okay. Okay, moving on. Okay. Yeah, dude, that fucking sucks. But you're a motherfucking warrior, obviously, bro. Um, dude, did that like? What was the pain like with that?
The pain was fucking extortion. Like it was horrible. Like I felt like my intestines had just burst inside of me.
Oh, I mean,
I,
yeah, it's pretty much what
and
happened. My
yeah, no,
old
it was.
MMA coach told me that the only times he got injured was from a white belt when he was doing jiu-jitsu,
It's very
right?
true.
Yeah,
Even
so
with
it's
any
the
sport,
people, yeah, with any fucking sport. So yeah, guys, stay humble when you're
it's
fucking training. It's not only for
yeah.
you. Do you use these skills that we've been talking about to read people IRL? And is it with the same accuracy? And another aspect of that, which elements of that are unconscious, you think? Because I'm sure you find yourself doing it and you're like, fuck, I'm doing it again. Or maybe not.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about that.
Yes. Oh God. You're probably one of the good examples. Like, and don't be scared when I say that, but like,
No,
no,
I'm like, if this dude likes me, this dude, I've thought this before. I'm like, Vercetti really likes me, and it's like he's seen me at my most like intimate, revealing, honest spaces. So I'm like, I think that's kind of good news. So I mean, like, I assume maybe, maybe you
yeah,
would
no,
analyze my behavior.
I think that's why though, because I've seen that raw side of you that you don't filter. And I think it's very, very important that you don't filter that because that's you and it's your personality, you know. But yeah, no, I definitely do subconsciously profile people as well. Like I'll look at somebody and I'll be like, yeah, probably insane.
Yeah, so that actually
Yeah.
really interests me. Like you'll be able to take like, you like, let's say you're at fucking Subway or something, right? And you're picking up on a conversation between two girls, having a conversation, and it's like, or like, someone that you meet or whatever, you're like, dude, I think you're pretty sure that this person could be like a sociopath or someone toxic or something like that. You get these reads pretty quick, you think? And you think you're
Yeah.
pretty accurate as well, right?
Yeah. I think that
What
with
a
that
fucking
stuff as well,
superpower, dude.
I think with that stuff as well, with people that have like, we'll say controlling, right? We'll use that word. Um, people that are controlling, it's very easy to pick up on. And even just watching
I can't
somebody in
fucking
public,
stand them. I can't stand controlling people.
yeah,
I
I can't
cannot
either.
fucking stand
I
them,
can't
dude.
either.
Get the
But
fuck away
even
from me.
in
Get the fuck
public,
out of my face, dude. Really, can't fucking stand them.
yeah, no,
If
I
I have a
agree, I
homie, if I have a
agree.
homie that's like decided to fucking settle down with this controlling ass woman, and I'm so fucking frustrated, dude. I know it's not my thing, but I'm like, why are you hurting? You're hurting him. That's how I feel.
No, yeah, I understand that.
I
I really do
seriously
understand
feel that
that.
way. I'm like, you're hurting my friend and he doesn't see it. Oh my
Yeah,
God. Go ahead. Go
but yeah,
ahead.
no, in public, even if they try and hide these things,
Oh, with the subtle,
the
like,
way
are you
they
gonna, are you
address,
really gonna eat that orange? That kind of thing. I'll be
like,
like, oof.
it's not even
Give
that.
me an
It's the
excuse.
way
I
they
would turn to
address
that woman and be
the.
like, do you really want to do this right now?
Oh
I'll
yeah,
take
I
that
would
shit,
find an
bro.
excuse. But I think that it's how they address the person that they're with, and controlling, and how they like say if I picked my phone up in public, right, and Lucy said to me, "Who's that?" and started asking a million and one questions, and it was just you texting me on Discord, you know, I'm gonna say, I'm told to fuck off, respectfully, but
Yeah, of
like,
course. But she also
it
like, I mean, obviously she's not the type of person to do that. Like, I mean,
no, definitely
I
not.
think, obviously the best relationships out there is when you trust the other person and the other person actually has your best interests in heart. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
100%. But a lot of the times I've seen it in public, even if I'm just in a fucking McDonald's, in a queue waiting, and I hear something, and this is how bad it is. I hear things and I'm like fucking crazy, and
So
but
this is also since it's obviously like, I mean, it's fucking rampant. It's everywhere. I have obviously my flaws and shit like that. So I'm assuming there is also a point where it's like, you know what? These people are all fucking human. Not like, the real bad ones, I'm not saying, but like, the controlling and like stuff that isn't necessarily like murders and stuff like that. I'm sure you also have developed a tolerance for your fellow man as well.
yeah, yeah. I
He
think,
hasn't.
yeah.
He's like, sure, filthy. Meanwhile, he's like, no, dude, it just gets worse and worse.
Like, no, it does get worse. It really does get worse.
Oh
I
man.
think you don't build a tolerance for it because you see it every day, and it's your job to. It's my job to
By
kind of just point
tolerance, I
that shit
kind of
out.
mean understanding.
Even
Like
then, I don't understand the fucking thing.
yeah.
Like I look at it and I'm just like, how can you be like that?
But this is
know,
this is people working off of their fucking they're reacting off of their fear. Right? So in a
which,
sense, they also
yeah,
don't know another way. Let's leave the murderers and stuff like that out of the equation for a second. But
oh yeah, I don't.
someone who
In
is
this
like, let's say, a
context,
controlling person, and then that partner that they have is they want to be controlled. I fucking
yeah,
can't. I'm just like, bro, what the? I mean, just to put it out there, I believe in mutuality in a relationship. You know what I'm saying? Like, we are a unit. It is equal. Except in bed, I'm going to dominate the fuck out of you. Had to
like,
throw that in there. But like for real,
so
so it's like the controlling one is reacting off of their fear, as is the person being controlled, right? And it's like they're, if you put it down that way, they're just scared creatures reacting, right? Yet we
yeah,
judge, and it's like I'll judge because I'll take the same information and make a better decision, I think.
yeah. I
But
think one
I'm
of
also
one of,
judging
one of the best ways
myself
to describe it.
always.
One of the best ways to describe it would be, it's like how a mechanic notices an engine making a strange noise. You know, I don't go around psychoanalyzing everybody in a really deep forensic way, but if I'm in a public setting and I can see somebody that's got a horrible posture and they've got really nervous tics, I notice that. If someone's voice
Okay,
matches their
so what?
words,
So when you notice someone
and
with poor posture and a nervous tic, what do you think?
that to me is like they're thinking about something and they're really not sure about it, and like it's really getting to their head where it's like, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know. Do I do that, or that, or just I don't fucking know. Like
Interesting.
they know what they need to do, but they don't know how they need to do it. Like if I see that, that's what I'm thinking.
Yoda says it makes
And
Vercetti very horny.
it honestly, it
No,
depends on
no,
how.
no.
Anyway,
I don't think I want to go there with you right now. And yeah, so that's all really interesting stuff. And like I said, man, like that seems to me like kind of like a superpower. You know what I mean? It's because so fucking interesting. I've been doing a lot of research
yeah,
lately on like what is it, Schopenhauer? No, Schopenhauer, something like that. Philosopher talking about how, well, almost like how the mediocre will band together to kind
yeah,
of ostracize a more intelligent person, and it's a human thing.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I forget why exactly I brought that up. Let me ask you. Um,
Just quickly before we move on,
yes,
sorry.
yes.
Um, to the last question, I mean, two, I think two that you would definitely be able to relate to, and I'm gonna use these two because I feel like me, how I analyze people when I'm just in public, you would be able to relate to as well. Obviously not to the same standard because I do it every fucking day of my life.
And
Uh,
I don't, I just
but
feel, you know what I mean? Like if I had
but
a
you know,
definitive way to put these, analysis on people, I think I would
yeah,
kind of thrive with it, to be honest
and
with you.
one very big one when someone is lying, and especially if they're bad at it, and I just look at them and they tell me something, and I'm like, "You're lying." It it boils my blood
Yeah.
because it's like, I know
Well,
you're lying to me.
that's why it boils your blood. That's your ego. It's got nothing to do with you. It's got everything to do with them. I went
Yeah,
through this
and
decades ago. When someone would lie to me, it would piss me the fuck off. And then I realized, wait, Filthy, it's not about you. It's completely about them because they would do the same thing to every other person.
yeah, 100%.
Just keep that in mind. I get it. It's
And
infuriating.
but no, the other one, and again, you'll definitely be able to relate to this. It's how people interact differently in groups than they do by themselves.
Oh my God. I mean, I think so many people can attest for that. For not to mention,
Yeah,
when humans get into groups, we get stupider.
yeah, we do. Like
Crazy.
if like it's like when somebody is like really like someone that's two-faced, right? And when it's just you and them, they're really nice, really cool. As soon as they go and break off and they're in a group of their friends, they're really snobby. They're
That was that
mm,
was my youth in high school.
yeah, literally, it's high
That was my
school.
friends in high school, bro. Like one on one, it was good, and they get in the group, and everybody would pick on me.
Yeah,
And this was in different groups of friends as well. And I was like, what am I doing wrong? You know what I mean?
and now you've got Twitch chat as a group to bully you.
Yeah, well, I mean, hey, like I really do enjoy it when they fucking fuck you, Panda, you piece of shit, I love you. I really do enjoy it. I mean, that's the fucking dynamic here. Um, so yeah, I mean, another thing too, like I really enjoy having these experiences with you because I didn't even realize the difference between ego systonic and ego didn't what is it?
So it's ego dystonic and ego systonic.
That's right, ego dystonic and systonic. And I just everything you explained about that, like, because this has been a big issue in my life. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I've literally had crazy, intrusive thoughts consistently my whole life, and I have had to navigate that shit. So it's like you're telling me that, well, you're ego dystonic, so it's like there's a conflict there, right? Like it's like
yeah,
something taboo or bad will pop into my mind, and I'm like, dude, I don't even want to think about that shit. You know?
yeah, 100%.
So it's just
I actually still have those notes here about that and how I literally just got it. So I basically just said, compare it to good and bad,
right.
and
And that was
it
another.
puts it into perspective for you how everything is just categorized now. And you know, I could say,
Is it categorized well?
yeah,
Cool.
actually,
That's
yes
it.
and no.
That's a big. Well, that's a big deal to hear as well because besides therapy and psychiatrists, like my whole life in my 20s and after, when I was
Yeah,
assessed with all these problems from birth to like 13, this was like the 80s.
yeah.
You know
Well,
what I'm
which one
saying?
is it
Like,
that
so
you suffer with?
I have ego dystonic.
Okay, yeah. So the
And
difference,
I
like, if I'm
personally
just
believe
reading,
it's a facet of OCD. I also think Tourette's that I don't have is a facet of OCD as well.
yeah, OCD is in ego dystonic. It's one of the things that tie into it. It's so ego dystonic is just a group of behaviors. That's all ego,
Ah,
dystonic, and systonic
I
are. It's
thought
a
it was a
group of behaviors.
condition. Okay.
Well, it's a
Well, there's
condition
variation.
of a group of
There's
behaviors.
variations in that. Interesting. I did
Yeah.
not know that.
And so
I thought
basically,
ego dystonic was basically it just meant that your brain doesn't match with like your intent kind of thing. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying?
No, so in my handbook, the literally for each one of them, the first line says these are thoughts, feelings, or behaviors that feel wrong or alien, and that's dystonic. And
Yeah.
systonic is these are thoughts, feelings, or behaviors that feel natural or in line with your self-image and beliefs.
Right, but what makes someone egosystonic, I would assume, is the abnormality of these thoughts in that regard, because you wouldn't be
Yeah,
systonic
so
just with normal thoughts.
so with ego systonic, um, continuing on from where I left it, the person often sees them as acceptable, justified, or even positive, even if others find them harmful. For instance, someone with narcissistic personality disorder may view their self-centered and as entirely reasonable and aligned with who they are.
So
You know?
petting a cat is just as meaningful to them as offing that cat.
Yes.
It's fucking crazy, dude. They're like fucking machines, bro.
Yeah, it's literally like
Egosystonic people are like fucking machines.
pretty much.
So
It's it's
when you're
scary.
but you can't so you can't be like normally egosystonic, right? Like a normal person that's egosystonic. You can't,
Well,
because everything is the whole, like you're dealing with everything and not just good moral things.
yeah,
You're
well
dealing
if
with
we if
everything
we
the
look
same.
here, right?
So it would be impossible to have a quote unquote good egosystonic person, correct?
Well, yeah, there's systonic conditions and narcissistic personality disorder, so NPD, borderline personality disorder, so BPD, hoarding disorder, antisocial personality disorder, so ASPD, obsessive compulsive personality disorder, OCPD, paranoid personality disorder, PPD, and dependent personality disorder, DPD. And that's systonic, and that's all the kind of I love myself, everything's good to me.
Man, that's fucking fascinating shit. Um, so in all your endeavors in this field, can you tell me like one or more things that you're most proud of? And then I also, as a segue, I wanna talk about people that probably in the rare cases that you were like, I actually think this person's innocent. If that has ever happened.
Yeah.
But first
No,
things
it
first,
has.
tell me a couple things that you're really proud of in regard to this line of work.
Well, the main one would just be from like how far I've came from where I started. Because I was, you know, fresh out of the military, came back, went to university, got an apprenticeship, and then I literally built from apprenticeship out of the military all the way up to where I am today as a manager of high court cases.
What got you interested in the field to begin with? Sorry to cut you off.
Psychiatry or military?
Psychiatry.
It was the effects it had on myself from the military. So when I left, I kind of had my own little battle. But when I kind of overcame everything, I was like, I feel really good again. And, my whole reasoning for doing what I do now was I want to help people feel good again.
Ah, it's very noble. Definitely very noble. Um, and what are your goals and aspirations for the future?
Ooh, stay happy. Um, number one.
Do
I
you
think
want to grow
that's
in this field? Or are you good
Yes,
with where
I
you're at?
definitely do.
Okay. Tell me a little bit
I
about
I'd
that.
love to I'd love to go and grow higher than it is high right now. You know, I'd love to just be. I would love to be in a position where I can oversee mental health as a general and actually implement change in the way the system works instead of enforcing the system.
I think that's fucking wonderful, dude. Gonna have to break a few eggs, my homie. Well, that's gonna be a
I've
tasty
broke a
fucking
couple
omelet.
already, so
Hey, man. I mean, obviously, you're another thing, and I find a similarity between us in this regard is like, yeah, I want to affect big change for people as well and make their lives better. Like, I want to be the conduit to do that as well.
yeah.
So it's like I like that you think that big. Yeah, I mean, you're already on your way with the district supervision and stuff like that. But I mean, I think these are the good eggs in the world that I mean, it's a lot of responsibility. It's a lot to take on, but that's where your heart is, man. And I need more people like that. It's fucking great. Um, Tell me about some people that ideally for the story sense, I would like to hear about someone that everybody else was so convinced that this person was guilty, and you were like, well, hold on a minute, I don't think this person is, or something of relation. I would like to hear about that.
Um, hmm. Sorry, I am just trying to think of how to word it without obviously specific case wise. I'm just being a bit careful. Um, but I think the one that the one that's really stuck with me, as far as like I actually believe this person was not guilty. Um, you know, obviously I evaluate people who their mental states in question, whether they're competent to stand trial or if they can't stand trial because of a mental illness. And it's a very, very scary place to be in for someone. And, this case, it was a man that was accused of aggravated assault. And on paper, it was clear cut. It was clear cut violent intent, multiple witnesses. And they said, he'd attacked this person unprovoked. And that was that, and that they on paper they said clear cut done and kind of said it's good to close. But when I interviewed the person and evaluated them, it became very, very clear that the guy had had a very severe psychotic episode
Hmm.
and he had no history of violence, like
Whoa.
none at all, like no record, no juvenile history, nothing in school, college, university. Like he was clean, and he had untreated schizophrenia.
Oh, wow.
And this person, his delusions had made him believe that he was defending himself, and it was really, really rough. But this assessment, it was very in depth, and my expert testimony made the court acknowledge the fact that he'd had that, and he wasn't acting with criminal intent, and he was actually really struggling with acute psychosis. And instead of going to prison, he went to a psychiatric facility. And the guy now has a full time job, and he's actually like working out. Like, obviously, he doesn't work every single day. He can't. He's on a ankle monitor, and they keep an eye on him, check on him all the time. But he's going to work every day that he can. He's taking his medication. He's getting better, and he's actually doing really well for himself. And it kind of puts into perspective how nice you can kind of change somebody's life by just listening and actually caring about what they have to say, and not the people that quote unquote saw what happened. You know,
Yeah.
it's almost like the people around him were just ignorant to what was going on,
And he
and
had
the people
an
that got
episode
given
before.
he had a completely clear um background. His juvenile background was clear, his adult background was clear, and there was nothing in school backgrounds and nothing.
Did
Like
he take
no
anything that
aggressive
night?
backgrounds.
Like weed or something?
Nope, nothing. He was completely clean.
That's fucking crazy. So
He just had a really bad psychotic episode, and it was that. He thought he was defending himself. He hit somebody really bad, and yeah.
speaking of the gray area in matters, the thing that would bother me about the case is the victims who got hit. I mean,
Yeah,
it's like, well, shit happens. You know what I mean? It's like, this guy had a psychotic episode. What are you going to do? You know
I
what I
think
mean? But like,
yes.
how does that sit with you a little bit? Like, you know, this, you had nothing to do with that, of course.
Yeah,
But
I
I
mean
would,
23
it does
left.
sit with you,
turkey tits.
and it really does kind of just sit there in the back of your head and say, yeah, this person did have an episode, but they really hurt somebody. And, you know, the people that get hurt, you can't just undo it, obviously. But I feel like personally, that person wouldn't, like, if it was me, I wouldn't want somebody that was really struggling mentally to go through something like that, and like I wouldn't want them to go to prison and or jail where it can just make it worse and go untreated still, and go unnoticed. So I would rather them get the help they need and rather them get back on track.
That's you. Me too. I mean, honestly, depending on the severity of things, it's just like, you know, there's so many like I see like a car chase or something like that, right? And like a car plows into another car, and I'm thinking, dude, if that dude didn't have insurance, he's just fucked, huh?
Well, in
So
that
like
case,
in violent crimes, like, does the government ever step in to compensate or
yes,
anything like
yes,
that?
yeah, the government usually does step in and give compensation. And so basically, what would happen with the actual person that did it? They would be placed under, obviously, if it came to a case where it was psychological, they get put into an institution instead. They would be held in institution for as long as a jail sentence would be, and then after that jail sentence time is gone, they get evaluated. If they're still not better, they stay there. And then the government would deal with any kind of fees that the person who's not insured would have to go through because it wasn't their fault, and because it was a psychological thing. There's not really, they can't just say, oh, deal with it, right? And well, they could. It's the government.
I mean, that's what I'm
Let's be
saying.
honest.
It's like what makes sense to me in a legal fucking realm is the government just says you should have had insurance. You're out of luck. You feel
Yeah,
me?
it
That's what
does
makes sense
happen.
to me legally. It's not right. I
It
don't want that.
yeah, it does happen, but there are cases as well where if the person doesn't go to jail, the government will kind of step in and say, this person, yeah, obviously, you know, they didn't go to jail. We're going to help you out with this. And, you know, they kind of compromise with the fact that no punishment for no car, no medical insurance, you know, and they help with, they'll probably help with a little bit, like probably cover a certain percentage. They won't do it all. They'll never do it all.
Yeah, I don't think that happens out in Cali. But yeah, dude. Is there, before we get into the Q&A with the chat here, is there anything else you would like to cover real quick? I had such an amazing time with you.
So I actually wrote down step by step how I would break down an interrogation.
Oh, this is good.
Here we go. So I explained how I would kind of use behavioral cues, speech patterns, and stuff like that. And I kind of want to go over that with you because it's something you've asked me about.
Yes.
So obviously, behavioral cues are all forms of communication, but they're non-verbal. And non-verbal communications are the hardest thing to kind of identify. But as far as body language, we would observe posture, fidgeting, hand gestures, and micro expressions. So
That sounds
expressive
like me when I wake
fidgeting,
up every
avoiding-
morning.
literally. Excessive fidgeting, avoiding eye contact, or rigid posture can indicate anxiety, deception, or distress. And that to us would show worry, and that would show that to me, especially that would show that you're worried about something and you're.
But
you're
if I'm innocent and I'm in the custody right now and you guys are talking to me, I'm fucking worried.
Correct. That's
I don't
why
know
we
what's
put
gonna
everything
happen.
together.
Right.
That's why we don't just look at one thing. So if
So it's
you were
the
rapidly looking around the
preponderance
room,
of evidence, which
Yeah,
actually,
it's-
I got you. Which actually will
it's not
give you
just
a
one
definitive,
thing,
like, okay, this is 90% or above type of thing.
yeah, like if you had a perfect interrogation and then all of a sudden you keep fidgeting and you fucking avoid eye contact, I'm not gonna say, oh, he's guilty. No, that you're fucking tired.
Right.
Like,
But you guys just have compiled so much information that now you're like, okay, it's really looking like this guy is interesting. Very fucking interesting, dude.
So with facial expressions and the micro expressions, as far as the brief involuntary facial expressions. So by brief involuntary, I would mean like kind of like a twitch, or kind of like if I said something to you and your eyes just instantly started to blink and you're like, what? And then you know when you panic and you blink a couple times. It happens every time.
Okay.
So
I mean, sure.
Trust me, it happens every time.
Oh, I believe you. I have
Every
panicked
time.
a few times in
I
my
love
life,
it.
dude. I just don't remember blinking, so I'm sure I did.
But yeah, so
But I'm blinking a lot right now. What's going on?
yeah, no. So when people panic and they're very expressive, they often twitch or they start to blink quite aggressively.
You know what fucking happens to me, dude? And maybe it was just because I was just too high those times, but my whole body starts writhing.
Yeah.
I'm just like, fuck.
I'm getting to that one. But yeah, so that reveals to us, true emotions that contradict your spoken words. So say if you say something that is the complete opposite of what you're thinking, right, or what's true, and you start to twitch.
I got a small penis. Sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
That that shows to us that somewhere in the narrative that you've gave us, what you've just told us doesn't align.
Right.
And there's something that's an inconsistency that we need to then identify and find. With eye movement, there's rapid blinking. Avoiding direct eye contact or excessive eye movement can suggest deception or discomfort.
That's just me watching porn.
So as far as deception, that would move more towards rapid blinking, because if you're trying to deceive somebody, you don't want them to watch your eyes. That's a very
So
big
when
tip
someone
to anyone
is
in chat.
sorry to cut you off, but when someone like, let's say, is explaining something to me and they're like blink, 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 that's something I should take account of.
Yes.
Okay.
That usually happens when someone's trying to deceive you of something.
Interesting.
So rapid blinking usually happens. So say if I said if I was a murderer.
So I should punch my autistic friend in the face for lying to me, right?
Well, first I would ask them if it was the autism.
Right, that's what I'm saying. We can't be 100%. You're lying, Johnny! No, filthy. I just had something in my eye.
But yeah. So that often says to us.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, that often says to us, what they're currently telling us, they want us to believe.
Right.
And
why psychologically does the blinking happen? You know? Why is that the mechanism? It's such a physical unconscious defense mechanism. Why does that happen?
I don't know.
Interesting though.
Completely. But I know that it's something to do with what you're telling your brain to say is the complete opposite of what you're thinking about. And you're kind of shutting down that thought in your head.
So what's interesting to me is that someone intentionally deceiving someone else, subconsciously, they would reveal truth through their action. That fascinates me.
Yes.
So there is something subconsciously in that human being that wants to tell the truth?
Yeah.
What's that about?
Well.
So this is dystonic.
Not necessarily that they want to tell the truth, more that they know the truth, and they're telling themselves the truth.
But why does the subconscious choose to expose that? Or relieve it. It relieves it. It's not exposing it. It's just something it's doing as a reaction, which is just so crazy. Why does it do that? That's so crazy. Interesting.
It's one of the wonders of the body.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you why the brain does it, but it really is. It's interesting.
Absolutely.
The last one is one that you're gonna make more jokes here. There's a sweating, dry mouth, changes in breathing rate, and they can indicate stress or underlying psychological conditions.
Okay, that's just me on a bunch of fucking sativa. What?
So sweating is a big one. People sweat when they're nervous.
Everybody?
And you will, when you're nervous, you will sweat in places you do not know you could sweat. And that's a promise. Underneath your toenails, you will sweat. I promise. It's weird to think about, but I promise you it happens.
Yeah, I believe it. I've not been someone that yeah, I've never noticed that about myself. Like it yeah.
I think it's because it's not something you look for.
Of course.
I think that's the most important thing. We look for these things and we try and find these things so people can't deceive us. And because we do it so much, for us, looking out for these signs, it's second nature.
Right. And obviously some people are better than others at picking up these signs. Like, it's interesting. Yeah. Like, I consider myself having a pretty good judge of character. Like, I have made assessments on people right away. And then, like, months later, my homies come back and they're like, damn, you're right about that guy. And I was like, I tried to tell you, I just got a bad vibe off of that dude. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
One of the
they'll tell you
biggest
who people will
things-
tell you. Give someone enough time, they will tell you who they are. People will tell you who they are.
Definitely. And you know, it's one of those things where, you know, some people are just better at it than others. Yes, I completely agree. Like with myself, for example, I'm dyslexic and I have ADHD, right?
What?
I can't focus on one thing. And I I struggle a lot with focusing, but one very, very big plus to this is I'm very good at spotting details. And I can, so I'm a very visual learner.
Yeah.
And when I look at something, I spot every detail. Like if I was watching a stream and someone had an overlay on, I could spot when it's all the way zoomed out if something was not lined up properly.
It's so interesting. It's the opposite for me with my ADHD. It's like a fucking, it just hits me. And I'm like, I would have to process every little individual piece for, like, it makes sense visually, but I'll look at like a piece of art or something and it's so overwhelming that like I can't take it all in at once almost, even though I can see it. I can see it as one thing. But you know what I'm saying? It's like with my ADD for things like that, I get lost. And I have to concentrate on something to remember it. Like I have to be like, that is there.
I completely, if I look at something and I come back to it a week later and I've not told myself that something was there, I'm not finding it again.
Okay. And I think that's contingent for ADHD folks like us, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's you know what's really fucking interesting, man, is that like, you know, I've been assessed of my conditions for years and decades, but all the information coming out nowadays, like, you know, when I talk about my ego dystonic, but someone was online talking about pure O, you know, like pure obsessive compulsive, and I was like, she was saying shit, and I was like, this girl just said everything that I've fucking been through my entire fucking life.
Yeah. So pure O is pure obsessive OCD. For anybody that is listening and
as opposed to what? Because I still don't really know what it is.
So pure O is a form of OCD, and it's where a person, you know, experiences intrusive, distressing thoughts.
That's the ego dystonic
or obsessions, but without the obvious visible compulsions seen in OCD.
That's ego
like,
dystonic,
you know, washing
right?
your hands and checking behaviors. Yeah, in a way, yeah. And
because that's how it would explain what I thought was ego dystonic. That's like me.
Yeah. And you know, the idea that it's purely obsessional is somewhat misleading.
Okay.
You know, compulsions are still present, but they tend to be mental rituals rather than physical actions. And
yeah, absolutely.
So people with pure O, they really experience intrusive thoughts and mental rituals. And what I mean by that, mental rituals.
I know exactly what the fuck you mean.
They
fucking
reassure
praying 30
themselves
times a day. I know exactly what you mean, dude.
So they're like they're constantly reassuring themselves. They're analyzing their own thoughts over and over. They're neutralizing all the bad thoughts with good thoughts. They're seeking reassurance without realizing that they're seeking reassurance. And one of the big, like, well, one of some of the couple, like, common themes in pure O and obsessive compulsive is like harm OCD, so the fear of accidentally hurting somebody, sexual OCD
or yourself.
intrusive, fear of accidentally hurting somebody or yourself. There's sexual OCD, intrusive thoughts about inappropriate or taboo sexual topics.
Okay,
it's a real thing.
Sure. I live it.
So there's religious OCD, where you fear of sinning or not being pure enough. Existential I can't say that word, but existential.
Existential. I'm John
OCD,
Savage.
obsessing. That's like obsessing over philosophical or really based concerns. And then there's relationship OCD, which is constantly doubting love for a partner or their love for you. And they're very common obsession themes within pure O, and it's like they really dig away at somebody. And
so maybe I'm not that, because it's like, though I have these thoughts and everything, I'm able to step out and realize this is irrational. Let me combat these things by practicing contrary action. And also, maybe if, like I said, if there's a compulsion, practicing contrary action, realizing that it's irrational anyway, and I don't want to be irrational. So, blocking that. But
yeah, I mean, pure O is really misunderstood because, all the compulsions are internal, and people with pure O often go undiagnosed or misdiagnosed all the time. Like,
well, they're always internal. They just manifest physically a lot of the time.
Yeah, and they don't realize that they have OCD because they assume OCD only involves visible compulsions.
Interesting.
Like, excessive cleaning, checking, and stuff like that. And
interesting. Yeah. That makes sense.
That's why it's separated completely from OCD, and they call it pure O because it's all it's all in together with OCD,
right,
and more.
Right. Yeah,
and it's really, really, it digs away at them.
Yeah. I think. I think honestly, dude, I think people could stand, even pure O people could stand to benefit from taking contrary action.
Yeah,
I'll just say it right now. My cure that's really helped me a lot and has helped some of my friends and has even helped people coming into my stream is that being someone who is obsessive compulsive, I feel a sense of impending doom if I don't go through with that compulsion. So when I realize that's an irrational thought and that nothing bad is going to happen if I don't do that action, I force myself to not do that action, even if it's really hard on me for like a minute or whatever, until I forget about it. And it's hard and it's arduous, but doing those things takes the power away from that compulsion. And to anyone out there dealing with these things, if you do that, if you realize, hey, I need to check the door all these fucking times because I have this sense of impending doom that unless I do, it won't really be locked. First things first, when you lock that door, you remember in your mind, I am actually locking this door right now. There is no ifs, ands, or buts. I am locking this door right now in this moment. That's going to help as well. But realizing that those initial thoughts, those intrusive thoughts are irrational, and taking action to combat those thoughts actually cognitively rehabilitates you with your OCDs. Take it from me. I've done it. Anyway.
Yeah, I think that's all for my side of things that I brought to the table. You asked a lot of the questions I wrote down, which is amazing.
Bro, I had so much fun. This was so fucking good, dude. Like, I was intimidated to do this. Like, not only have I not done a podcast for a while, but I just intimidated, Obviously, I want to be good at this, but this was great. This was fucking awesome.
It was definitely, and I'm very, very much looking forward to the Q&A part.
Absolutely. So this leads us to chat. If anyone has any questions for Vercetti, we would love to entertain those questions as we continue bantering a little bit.
Can I just pick up on this one from Yoda?
Yes, please.
Do you need a degree for this or just sound British? I went through university.
He went through uni. It was accredited. Now what? Yeah, that's a good one. You're gonna get some interesting questions from this crew for sure.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah,
So
but
like
this is
that, right?
all
I've done this whole thing stood up. So
why?
I've got a standing desk. I've been stood up this whole time. I feel great.
Why? Dude, I am going, let's see. I've got 23 hours to go on this stream. And it's yeah. Anyway. Um so if there's a class to be a pro at lying, G-Spec says, yeah, I mean I'm sure.
Honestly, yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of the
Have you
things
dealt
that
with people in your go ahead, I'm sorry.
a lot of the things that we have covered, yeah, they are ways that you can deceive somebody in my profession, and obviously, as far as deceiving goes, it is difficult to hide that you're deceiving somebody that deceives people for a living, but it's very much possible, and it has been done before.
Okay. Are there obviously without revealing too much, have you dealt with people who do exactly what you do, who are just either like doing it for a paycheck or they don't give a fuck? Is this the predominance of them? Do you find that most people in your field actually do care for the greater good, or it's like this is just kind of what I do? I mean, I'm sure also, realizing this element of humanity is quite a disturbing thing for a lot of people.
Yeah. No, definitely. Without saying too much, because obviously I don't want
Yes,
to dox
of
where I
course,
work
of
and
course.
stuff like that. But
Or coworkers and shit like that's why I
yeah,
said
yeah.
just be very.
But there is a case where I did report something that I didn't like, and turns out the guy was released because he just didn't care, and he even wrote down in some notes that he was doing things for paychecks and making things longer on purpose for more money and stuff like
Oh
that.
Jesus Christ! Yeah, get him the fuck out. Good for you. I mean, that's what we need in society today is good, strong leaders that aren't afraid to like step up and be like, hey, this is the way it should be to benefit the people.
Yeah.
So you're doing that, which is fucking amazing. Like that's definitely not an easy job. And man, what a noble profession, dude. I'm really happy that you found this stream, bro.
I mean, I'm really happy you kept me.
um yeah, man, many people come in and out, but I'm just yeah, I don't want to make this about my stream right now. There's plenty of time for that later. But yeah, dude, if nobody has any questions, I think we're gonna wrap the podcast up. Would you consider doing a follow-up with us, and who knows? Because this
Yeah,
was
down the line, I'd definitely do it again.
that'd be fantastic, man. And I'm grateful for your friendship, dude. I'm grateful that that you spend. I gotta be honest with you, dude. Like the fact that someone who does what you do chooses their time to spend with me to unwind or for various other reasons makes me so fucking happy and so grateful and so humbled as well, because I don't know what I'm doing and I'm just trying to do better by that. So yeah.
See, that's the thing, though, right? So, like I said, I choose to spend my time with you in the chat to wind down and stuff. It's not just that, I respect everything you're doing, and I respect how hard you're trying, and that's the biggest thing. Like, you try. You've got big streamers on Twitch that just have a big following, that literally sit with a web camera on full screen all day, every day, and all they do is run around their room and light fireworks and do stupid shit in their room, and they get thousands and thousands of dollars a month. And to be honest, I find it ridiculous, because people like you try so hard. You work full time as well,
I ain't going anywhere, dude.
yet you struggle.
It's gonna be
That's
my
not
year, bro.
You know, people like Kai Cenat, I don't want to watch them run around the room and light fireworks all day. I'd rather watch you light your farts on fire.
I appreciate that. Kai is the homie. I like Kai, and that's just because that boy has fucking done so many integrous things where he could have just sold out and just been like, oh, whatever the stream wants or whatever. Like that, those are the, I'm not even kidding. Kai Cenat, I have so much respect for that dude. Remember in New York where he had that giveaway? You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Any other fucking streamer would have been like, well, bro, you know, they just went crazy. He said, dude, what the fuck are you guys doing, you fucking morons? Don't ever do that again. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
100%.
he is a fucking leader. I love Kai Cenat. I think he's fucking
I completely
awesome,
agree.
dude.
And
And
I think
he fucking GG'd Kanye. That motherfucker's gonna get slapped if I ever see him in public. Yeah, if I see Kanye in public, I'm gonna slap him. I've said it on stream so many times. I'll do it in front of security too. Will that be good for the social media? I think it will. Be like, oh.
man in just a hat slaps Kanye.
It'll go viral.
Good headline.
Anyway,
hey, you might even get sent to me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's true. Conflict of interest, much. All right. So yeah,
Thank you,
this was great, man. Thank you so much again. And yeah, like I'm gonna put a nice little thumbnail on this and put it out on YouTube as the 4th episode.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, my brother. All right. Well, I guess that's it, and I'll see you in the stream, dude. Thank you so very much again. That was just such an enlightening pleasure. And I had a great time too.
I mean, I had loads of fun.
Cool. We'll talk soon.
I love you, brother.
I love you too, man. Thank you again.